Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of America in Black and White. Tonight we have a very special guest for you. We have Mr. Dash Daggs is going to be our guest tonight. And let me tell you a little bit about Mr. Daggs. In the heart of Atlanta, amidst the bustling streets and the vibrant communities of the West End, stands Dash Daggs, a dynamic figure in the fight for social justice and visibility for Black and non binary individuals. Born in the rich cultural setting of New Orleans, Louisiana, Dash has transcended the barriers of gender and race to become a pioneering activist, media producer, and public speaker. From a young age, Dash faced the stark absence of Black non binary representation in the media and public discourse. This lack of visibility fueled their passion to ensure that voices like theirs are heard and seen, not just in their normal communities, but across the nation. Today, Dash is at the forefront of several transformative projects and organizations aimed at elevating marginalized voices and tackling systemic issues. Working closely with Project Him and the Trans Woman of Color Healing Project, Dash addresses the erasure and false narratives surrounding TGNC, that is, transgender and gender nonconforming individuals, their involvement with Dallas Black Link has further empowered and uplifted vulnerable ethnic groups of color, enhancing community strength, unity, and support. At the core of Dash's activism is Power Atlanta Inc., an organization deeply intertwined with Dash's mission to forgive pathways of wealth and provide the economic resources to marginalized communities. Under Dash's leadership, Power Atlanta Inc. plays a social role in addressing health and disparities and food insecurity within the West End, a historic area that faces significant socioeconomic challenges despite its cultural wealth. The West End, notorious for its high HIV infection rates and status as a food dessert, has found a committed advocate in Dash. Through their work, they strive to combat these health disparities by offering community based solutions and accessible support systems. As a PrEP navigator with GMOC, NMACS, Gay Men of Color, Dash also spearheads initiatives to prevent HIV and educate the community about health practices and resources. Dash's media production skills are evident in their project like State of Trans, which has been instrumental in shedding light on the lives and challenges of TGNC individuals in Atlanta. Their directorial finesse and storytelling prowess are not just tools of trade, but weapons against ignorance and prejudice. In addition to their advocacy and media production, Dash's entrepreneurial spirit once thrived through a New Orleans nightclub, a hub that celebrated queer talent from the Gulf South. This space not only showcased the vibrancy and resilience of the queer community, but also provided a safe haven for fellowship and expression. Dash Daggs is more than just an activist or a media producer. They are a beacon hope and a catalyst for change. Their life's work is a testament to the power of resilience, the importance of visibility, and the relentless pursuit of equality. As Atlanta continues to evolve, Dash Daggs remains a vital force in steering the communities toward a more inclusive and equitable future. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you all to Mr. Dash Daggs. Hello, Mr. Daggs.
Hey, I was wondering who was all that was about. I said, "Who's that guy?" Oh, he's talking about me. How's it going
So
today?
it's going just great. How are you this evening?
I'm doing good. Today was real busy for me. I had to do two things in one day, and this is the third thing today. On Thursdays is the day we operate our food pantry at Power. We served roughly 400 people. We're located in the West End. I'm the co-founder of Power Atlanta, and the food pantry is my baby. And then I had a meeting at Microsoft today with LinkedIn where we talked about diversity on their platform and how some things that they can improve to make their platform more diverse for queer individuals.
Cool. That's wonderful that your advocacy is still working. So is
Uh,
there anything else you'd like to add to your bio other than what I read?
no, I actually was looking at the bio recently when you asked for it and getting ready for GMAC coming up, and they say, "Hey, sing your bio," and I was like, "Jesus, I did a lot in a couple of years." Um, I can imagine, and believe it or not, a lot of people don't know that I've always been an activist because it's naturally for someone who grew up in a church community to be an activist or be a fighter, or to speak out when needing to speak out. But I only became a full time activist during COVID.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
yeah,
Why
during COVID.
COVID?
Um, I was working in an environment for a suppressor, someone who was suppressing me constantly. I was in charge of roughly 100 employees, a multi-million dollar company, and in Atlanta they give us the title, but they don't pay. And they said I was what was it when you had the needs? They said that I was a need, so I had to work during COVID. I'm watching people get sick around me, and they're demanding that people come to work. They said I was a necessity that I need to be there, and the owners were laying in Arizona. They were in their homes, so I quit my job during COVID. And it was an idea that me and my business partner at the time, and she's the executive director of Power Atlanta, we had been saying, hey, let's do a nonprofit geared to um, financial literacy because we're really good with numbers. Um, we understand how credit works, but it's a bigger problem in the black community. You can't just fix someone's financial stability if you can't fix all the other things that's going on with them. And that can be an array of things. And that's how we ended up fighting for multiple other causes located in the West End.
Oh wow. Yeah, so I'm sure that has taken on a newfound situation itself with the way gentrification has taken place over there.
Such beautiful word, but such nasty word at the same time. Because when you think of the word regenify, you think of like, oh wow, but it's actually gonna take millions of people out of their homes and displace them. And the scary thing about regenification, we see all the big beautiful glass buildings come up. That's the beautiful part. But the ugly part is they're not gonna allow brown and black people from those neighborhoods to live in those nice new buildings.
Right.
And it's sad. It's real sad. If you from Atlanta, Atlanta's becoming less of Atlanta. Most people are having to move to Douglas County, having to move to Fayette County and places like that. And as I always tell people, if you live in the city and you don't have transportation, because right now a one bedroom apartment in Atlanta is running $1,400. That's kind of high. And there's car insurance, there's lights, there's basic day-to-day necessities. So you may can't afford a car, so how would you get to these places if we don't have transportation? But that's a whole nother discussion.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Well, let's dive into these wonderful things here that our audience needs to learn from the expertise that you have to teach us tonight. Can you tell us what inspired you to become an activist in the LGBTQ community?
um Typically, for queer people, it's a lot of times it's white people speaking for us, even for black people, so they don't have open representation that look like me at the table. So a
Mhm.
lot of the meetings and a lot of things that were going on, and it's wonderful that they want to fight for my causes. But I feel like someone that looks like me needs to represent people who look like me, so that I can come back to my audience and say, "Hey, this is what's going on. This is what we need to fight for." Let's just be honest. Honest. Black people are not trusting of most Caucasians because of some things that have happened in the past. Medical distrust, um, and government distrust. And the main reason we have that distrust is because we don't have people who look like us in those spaces.
Right. And so, but I mean, tell me if you agree with this or not, because the people that are there that supposedly quote unquote that look like us, is it fair to say that they're not really representing us, but they're actually playing gatekeeper for those people?
um, Sometimes that actually can be a scenario, and even in my field and even people I encounter, I don't call them gay people. I call them people that's out of place.
Hmm.
Um, I can give you a short story about it. An incident. I attended this major conference for prevention, and we were talking about doxy prep. And I'm like, okay, how many black people were in the study? Um,
None.
well, we have a problem reaching black people. And this is the black guy presenting. Well, where were you looking for black people? Well, the study was, we did it in Oregon, and we did it in this place, and we did it in that place, all predominantly white places. And the black people that were in the study were black males that were dating white males. So they didn't go
Mm.
out and canvas black males. They didn't canvas trans women. They didn't canvas trans masculine men. They just canvassed white men predominantly. And unfortunately, in healthcare and in business and anything, if you're running a study or a poll or any type of test, you have to include black people in order to get the right results, to get the right measurements. And a lot of times we're not included in those places. And again, that's why I ended up becoming an advocate, and that's why I'm in a lot of the spaces I'm in. I want to represent my people.
Well, we need more people like that, and that is, I'm happy that you're part of our platform because that's what this platform is for. It is for that underserved communities, the underserved LGBTQ communities, for people that look like you and I, that do not have a fair representation, but also don't have the opportunity to, one, have that voice to speak what you're feeling and how you're feeling and why you're feeling that way. Because once you start to just speak on that situation as to how you're feeling, then you become the angry black man, the angry black woman, or you just have a problem with other people because you're not doing what you're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the things, shall I say, that really, really get under my craw. And when they get under my craw, it's like the lion that broke the thorn on the rose bush, where he couldn't get the thorn out. And it's like it's just hanging there and it just kills me because there's so many people that look like you and I that actually agree with that bull crap because it's a bunch of bull.
Well, not, a few months ago, I had the distinct pleasure of going to the nation's capital, just to talk about anti-trans legislation and anti-LGBT legislation. They're banning books, they're passing laws where trans people will have to pretty much present IDs with their dead name. So for people who don't know what a dead name is, if you're trans, you've pretty much picked the new name, and the name that you were given when you were born, that's dead. We don't want to use that anymore. It's disrespectful for you to call someone by their birth name if they no longer use that name. So I pay attention to the congressmen and the senators that I was around and the people who were making the decisions in the rooms, and the key people in Washington, a lot of them, as we know, are black. I mean, are white. But the
Right.
people who are writing these bills, so the average congressman or the average senator don't write the bill. They may say, "Oh, I like this," but guess what? It is the most insulting thing to me that it was black queer men working in these offices writing this legislation. And I'm sitting there the entire time like, how gross, how, oh my God. That's like someone who say, I don't eat seafood cooking seafood. I can't put it anywhere. That's like you saying I don't eat chitlins, but you cooking chitlins.
That's crazy, ain't it?
Yes, that was the craziest science project that I ever seen, and I got so sick I had to leave early. When I realized that it was black queer men writing the bills and some of the legislation that affect, and not only things related to queer people, things that are related to black people. Some of the
But
bills that are going on in Congress now are not written by white people that hate black people. These are black people that believe this. There's a
that's my
problem.
whole premise. That's my whole premise. And that's because what I'm saying,
That's why I was in agreement with you.
yeah, I understand that, but it's like I've actually run across some of those people and actually talking to them. Lord, please forgive me, and I don't want nobody to feel like I'm disrespecting them, but these are the same black people that really kind of, I don't know. It's like I'm in a science experiment. It's because their blackness does not exist. That
I
is
don't want to. I
crazy.
don't say is that. I don't. I don't. I want to dive into that a little bit. I don't want to go so far as how you say that blackness don't exist.
Hmm.
They're forgotten who they are because they come from somewhere. They
Right,
came out of someone and they can't. They forgot the situations and I know people personally feel like because I did it this way, you have to do it this way. And I don't see any other way of you getting there. Because I was in a cookie line, and you have people that benefit from affirmative action don't believe in affirmative action.
right,
So
right,
that's scary. And
right,
you have a group of people who feel like, hey, I went through this and I did this way, so you should have to do this way. So what I've begun to do is just I shut up. I don't have anything to say. I'm not going to preach to the wall anymore. I'm not going to
right.
get angry anymore. I'm not going to have my pressure boiling trying to explain to you why we should go this way, why we should go that way. I'm going to after the last election and after the last trauma that America went through, I said, I'm going to stop arguing with these people. I'm gonna stop battling them in chat groups and in comments and in discussions because it's no good because they see what they see and we see what we see.
Hmm. Well, I mean, I'll leave that as a fair point, but again, this is why me having some of the opportunities that I have today is because this platform is what it is, and that's about the truth. And I'll be able to cover a lot of those events as time is going on. And I want you to know that for all the knowledge and all the experience and all the things that you and other people that have come to this platform is going to play a major part in how this actually grows because it's about the realness, not about this fake crap, because now so many people are believing and caught up in lies that they don't know. I mean, I'm sorry, but they want to be like this man that wants to create his own reality. I'm talking about this guy
A
that
false. So what you're saying? A false reality.
yes, they're creating a fake reality, and this is because the occupier, which was after Barack Obama, that was there in the White House. He was an occupier because he wasn't a president.
I like that.
That occupier that sat there and held that seat for 4 years, he practically screwed the whole world and had people turning upside down, talking about, "I believe this lie. I believe this lie."
Now,
So
since we're gonna go there, what's scary for me is that now you have black men, and it's majority black men. You have black men that believe that he was cheated. You have black men advocating for this man to be reelected. So one of the things I tell people who I talk with, I'm a numbers guy.
right.
The average person who makes less than $120,000 are taxed at 24%.
Hmm.
So if you let me rephrase this conversation because I need people who are leaning to want to reelect him to actually tell me how it benefits them. So if you make $43,000 a year, You qualify for earned income tax credit. If you have a child, you qualify for child welfare tax credit and daycare credit and all that stuff. So you'll get a $5,000 refund. Now, I want you to realize how cynical this is and how the tax code is against you in every form possible. The minute you bump past $43,000, leaving that sweet spot, it starts to chip away at that. So, as an African American, and me knowing that majority of the people depend on that money because that's Black Christmas for a Black person. Because growing up in the house, we couldn't wait for tax time to come. That would mean we was gonna get all them gifts we didn't get originally. For
Mm-hmm.
some,
Right.
I learned in this field we say I statements. So a year ago, Congress went in and they did an adjustment to the tax system, and they said, okay, we'll still let you tax at the lower tax if you make 120. That's why I started off originally in the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So as a Black person who probably one parent household,
Mm-hmm.
how do your views line up with his views? He wants to cut unemployment. He wants to cut Medicaid. He wants to cut Social Security. These are all things that support us in our time of need.
Right.
The most jobs don't offer health care.
Right.
You want to take Obamacare, but what's your solution? You
Right.
want to cut food stamps. Okay, you want to cut food stamps, but you're saying I have to bear this child and have
Right.
this child. So
Right.
where does his views meet up with your views? Because everything that you need to be successful, and you know what a lot of those people you were talking about come back, oh, that's what the Democrats do to control the Black people. They keep us on those programs.
That's a Jedi mind trick.
Yeah.
That's a Jedi
Yeah.
mind trick.
Yeah. Every program that I have named have helped Black people sustain and be able to live. Not just Black people, because you got more white people on welfare than Black people. But my
Right.
point is, you want to cut everything that can help someone in their time of need. Even the people who live in the Midwest who are living in poverty, want to
Mm-hmm.
reelect this person,
Right.
and none of his views and nothing that he's gonna do is gonna benefit you. Because if
Right.
he gives to the rich showed you the last time, they sure the hell not gonna give it to you. Because
Exactly.
minimum wage is still $7.25, and Georgia
Mhm.
is still a right to work place, and we're still a non-union state.
Right.
So hey, vote for me.
Right.
Hey,
You are absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And believe me, as we get closer into this election season, there will be several shows about that. So I'll make sure I keep you in mind.
sure. I love that.
How do you balance your roles as an activist, public speaker, and media producer?
It's hard. I do have a small team, and I have people who are dedicated to me. And I also work a full-time job. That's
Mhm.
the other thing. It takes delegation. My evenings don't stop to 3 in the morning, and my
Mm,
days still start at 9.
mhm,
Um, right after this, I have to sit down and I'm writing a grant.
mhm,
That's going to take me 2 hours of research and what I'm doing, and I'm gonna get some sleep. And I have to get up at 9 in the morning. I have some meetings tomorrow, and still have the day still go. So it's really hard navigating it, and it just takes dedication. And oh, you have to use Google calendars. Yeah, I have to use Google. I have to use a calendar, because if it's not on the calendar, I'm not going to do real good with it. This last 2 years, I've begun to write a lot of things down and use the calendar, because if I
mhm.
don't use the calendar, I'll be all over the place.
Oh wow,
Hmm.
that's interesting. So basically, you're saying that you stay busy, and pretty much 24 hours is just not enough time for you in a day.
The weekends are an inconvenience to me.
Oh wow.
Yeah, weekends are an inconvenience to me, because a lot of times when I have an idea, it's something I want to do, I can't do it until Monday because everyone's back at work on Monday, and then I got to go through the whole bureaucracy of getting through to them on a Monday morning.
Mhm,
Um, weekends for the last few years to me have been an inconvenience. I not saying I want a 7-day work week, but
mhm,
yeah, a lot of times there are things that I need to do, especially for as projects that I'm advocating for, or things I want to do with power, or things I want to do with TWOC. I can't do it until Monday.
Oh wow.
Hmm.
So, um, so what's so specified that you have to wait till Mondays?
Well, most people on weekends are off. When they come back to work on Monday, they don't come back till late from their vacations. So that means the work may not get done until Tuesday.
Okay.
Really, to be honest with you, the way that America's work is set up, people check out of work on Thursday evening at 4 o'clock in the evening, and they don't return till late on Monday. They get a 3 day weekend. So there's some things that are hot button issues that I'm working on right now. I probably won't be able to get in touch with some of the partners or get a meeting with them until next week sometime.
Mm. So that explains why people in Atlanta don't work on Friday.
Oh, Friday's fun day. It's like Sunday fun day, Friday's fun day. I um I just got 3 requests. Oh, we can go out tonight for drinks. I thought you say you were because by the way, I'm traveling this week. I thought you said you were traveling this week, so I know you're not going to work tomorrow. Yes, I am going to work tomorrow. I still have a staff. I still have employees that I have to answer to, and a boss that I have to answer to.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Wow. What strategies do you use to effectively communicate your message to diverse audiences?
Being personable, being relatable, um, taking taking an approach. One of the key things that when I take an approach, I try to a- appeal to the audience that I'm speaking to. I think
Hmm.
that's been one of my strategies always. I don't want to go in a room and use words that won't connect and won't relate. I don't want to talk over them. I want to be with them. Um, Recently, I took a class with Les Brown, and one of the things when talking to people about tough situations like HIV and stuff like that, you should sit down below them. You don't want to sit above them like you're towering over them. You want to sit in a lower chair than them. That's why a lot of times when you're at the doctor's office, they tell you sit on the bed and the doctor sit on a little stool.
Hmm.
If you ever pay attention, they say, "Hey, sit right here." You're sitting up here, and the doctor's sitting down here. So you want to make people feel comfortable with you.
Hmm. Could you share a memorable experience from your public speaking engagements?
Hmm. A memorable experience. I was speaking at a neighborhood event in Houston, Texas, in the third ward, and the DJ was going, the kids were doing this, and the kids were doing that. And because I'd always spoke in church and never really spoke outside, I could hear everything and see everything that was going on. And I had the hardest time keeping my audience attention. I felt like I was in a room and I was being suffocated. I pulled through. After that, I knew I had to take some public speaking classes.
Oh wow.
Hmm.
So is that the first
Because
time that ever happened to you?
the first time, the very first time that it had ever happened to me, um, I'm trying to think if I've ever had any other thing. No, I've spoken outdoor. Speaking outdoor can be challenging.
Hmm.
Um, the weather, the audience, the sound. Um, if you're not in an environment where it's a calm environment and there's a lot going on around you, you have to keep your focus.
Hmm.
Then I don't like reading off teleprompters.
Mm.
The teleprompter's going, and you try to, and I said like, and I envy people who do it well. I envy news reporters. One of my closest friends is a news reporter. His name's Travis. He's in is he in Nashville still? No, he's in St. Louis now. And I said, Travis, how do you do it? He said, I started reading the teleprompter in high school when I knew that this was the field I wanted to do. And that's one of the things that I tell people: if you're gonna be a professional speaker and you're gonna be in environments where you're gonna speak at graduations or conferences and anything to inspire people, you may want to practice reading off a teleprompter, because that's one of the hardest things about public speaking, is because you have to keep your eyes level and look at the teleprompter, but also still come across personable.
Mhm.
But what I do is lay that iPad right in front of me and I start and I go to the next one.
But,
And,
now that's one thing I've never done, and I think I've always wanted to just see what that was like with that, experiencing reading off teleprompter because when I
Whew.
looked at President Obama do it, he did that like he was like just looking at the audience, and it's like you could swear up and down he had that coming from here, because he could do that so well.
Sometimes, sometimes depending on the situation, they do pipe it in through your ear. There is
Uh-huh.
a speechwriter. I haven't been involved in something like that, but I have been in areas where I've seen now at MMAC and conferences and various ones we go. It's on the floor. It's a screen sitting in front of us on the floor, and we can
Right.
look down and read it. But again, you don't want to appear to be sitting on the floor reading something.
That is true.
That it's a public speaking is a talent, and it's
Right.
like a muscle you have to keep working it. Um, Les Brown offers classes, and other groups offer classes on public speaking. I always tell people this is what you're going to do. Just find different speaking bureaus to join. They're called speaking bureaus. Once you join a speaking bureau, they're going to offer coaching classes on how you should hold your hand. You should put your hand in your pocket. Should you put your hand here? Rest your hand in front. What mannerisms you should use, what mannerisms you shouldn't use. And it helps. It's a muscle that keeps going. I've watched certain keynote speakers speak at different events, and sadly to say, they use the same speeches, but they edit them to fit the rooms that they're speaking in. Have I ever done that? No. I'm one of them people. I start writing about what I want to speak about, what's on my heart, and that comes from the church in me.
Oh, wow. So how do you think public speaking contributes to advancing LGBTQ rights?
Um, how it's a major part because speaking is like singing.
Hmm.
And when you're a good speaker and you have something good to talk about, people pay attention.
Hmm.
If you don't have anything to say and you can't open your mouth, no one will pay attention. You'll be just a noisy train going down the track.
Hmm.
So it plays a really big part.
So can I ask you this: when you say it plays a big part, how does it play? Especially from that public speaking perspective, when you're speaking of things like the HIV and AIDS epidemic, treatments, and things of that nature. Is it more powerful in those forums?
Well, as a speaking, if I was talking to you in a group about it, I'm more educating you on some of the things and some of the advanced treatments we have. So I wouldn't
Mhm,
be speaking on a platform about that because that's typically not what I do. When I speak about HIV, most of the time I'm speaking about the rates and the lack of care and the inefficiencies and inequalities in black and brown neighborhoods.
mhm,
Like let's take the West End for instance. We know that CDC just said Atlanta is number two in America with HIV. Well,
mhm.
the West End has 1,800 new cases, let alone in the last year.
Oh my god.
Um, the West End has the highest HIV rate in the state, which is almost compared to a small town in the United States of America.
Jesus
So a
Christ.
lot of times when I'm talking about HIV, I'm talking about numbers and facts and how it's affecting the Black and Brown community.
Mhm,
Um, why is it so prevalent in the Black community? That's the question, and that's the discussion we have to get to when talking about HIV. Let's talk about why is it in this pocket of this neighborhood? Why is it affecting only this group of people and not the group of people who live over here in Smyrna, less than 5 minutes away?
mhm.
Well, we know people who live in Smyrna have really good jobs, and those jobs have health care. Georgia have an annex into the healthcare network.
You
We know
mean
that
the
someone,
exchange?
huh?
It's called the
Yeah,
exchange.
the exchange, Obamacare.
Yes.
Um, so we know that Georgia's not that Georgia's not a part of Obamacare. I wrote something down. Back in 2016, Louisiana annexed into the healthcare network. The HIV rate at that time, Louisiana itself in New Orleans was number one and number two, and Baton Rouge, unfortunately, still number three or four for HIV. Was one of the highest states with two cities in their states outranking national averages. So we do know, being a part of the healthcare exchange, that it plays a big part having access to healthcare. But let's take it back to poor neighborhoods versus rich neighborhoods. You have a neighborhood where the average income has to be three times the amount of the rent. And that means that person may be making $50,000, $60,000 a year. And we know with a job that pay $50,000, $60,000 a year, what comes along with that? Healthcare. So that person that's getting healthcare, they're able to afford PrEP. If they're educated about PrEP, they know about PrEP because the insurance will pay for it. They also know that if they're HIV positive, they can get their meds. Right now in Georgia, if someone's diagnosed with HIV, if they don't have the proper channels, it'll take 30 days before I can get them on medicines. These are
Oh,
facts.
oh,
So
wow.
now let me take it back to the poor neighborhood. The average medium household income in the West End is 27 to $32,000 a year. So one
Mhm.
out of 10, that person is working in a service industry job. What do I mean when I say a service industry job? A service industry job could be anything from someone working at a grocery store, a fast food restaurant, mail service, driving Uber, driving DoorDash, any job that won't offer you insurance. So what do we have? We have people who not going to the doctor for regular routine checkups and testing. They don't have access to PrEP. If they're living with HIV, they may not have access to medicine.
Mm.
Now, I'm not even going to get into compound stigma, but those are the key things how finances play a real big part in healthcare and in preventing and combating HIV.
Wow. Oh, man, because don't I don't want to keep harboring on this because that really makes me feel some kind of way.
No,
Um,
it's sad. It's sad, and when I break those numbers down to people, because people say you talk about HIV, I say not. I haven't gotten a booking where someone say come to my my this and let's talk about this. Most of the time, I try to talk to powers that be that make decisions to educate them on some of the facts,
mhm.
on what's plaguing the black community, and the west end of Atlanta is only one area that's being faced with this. That's just me. By the way, I moved to the west end. Um, I live in the west end, so I am west end.
Right.
The West End is just one area in Atlanta. There are some other areas where it's just as high or it's equal to, and there's
Mhm.
some areas in America where it's just as high. So if you want to know what's going on in your area, go to AIDSview.org or the CDC surveillance report, which is released every year. You can also go to your local um, county health department or state government department, and basically type in the HIV stats or the infectious disease stats, and it'll basically break it all down to you and say, hey, this is what the recent numbers are in the last year or last 2 years, depending on how they report. Um, and we can go down that road of talking about the difference, and you have people say, well, you can be rich and get AIDS. Yes, you can be rich and get AIDS, but you'll 1 out of 10 that person treatment will be totally different versus the poor person's treatment. We
Exactly.
have, the scariest thing to me as of lately is homeless people
Mhm.
living with HIV. I'm a part of this initiative called the Sweet Spot, where we aim to test 5,000 people. We want to test 5,000 people. And we're not testing for AIDS. We've changed that approach. We're not testing for positive people. So if you're not positive, we want to get you on PrEP and PEP, doxycycline. If you want to have promiscuous sex, we do have something that you can take immediately afterwards that avoid, because there's STDs, which are highly prevalent again in the black community and in urban areas. So we
Mhm.
want to implement doxy prep. We also want to implement getting people on prep so that we can lower the transmission rate and lower the new infections by getting people on prep and pep.
Mm. What role does media production play in raising awareness about LGBTQ issues?
A big role, a very big role, because Americans consume over $1 billion of television, over $1 billion of movies, and their role is to actually have people that depict who really. Let me rephrase that. Their role is to actually tell the story and depict actual people and not depict falsities. Don't put Dame Edna up here with a wig on and have her telling jokes. Pick real black queer people.
Mhm.
Tell real queer stories and allow them to be told correctly.
Mhm.
That's one of the biggest things I hate about Hollywood. They'll put a gay man on TV, And it's fine if it's a gay white man and a gay black man, but they won't put a gay black masculine man on TV.
No, they
And
will
it's
not.
fine if you want to put a trans woman on TV, a trans person. The
Mhm.
trans woman I know, then shouts out to the Shy, having a real trans actor on there that's having
Yes.
actual trans actors, not real. There's a trans masculine man on there as well. If
Yep.
you're gonna put, and so was BMF as well. If you're gonna depict the lifestyle, if you're gonna depict something from us, depict it correctly. Don't cherry pick it down what makes you feel comfortable and fuzzy inside and take away. And the whole time I'm sitting there, that's not how we. That's not us.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so, can you tell us what challenges have you faced in your activism, and how have you overcome them?
Money.
That was quick.
I can tell you that
That.
that's a question that's on everything I've got. Money. How have I overcome them? I haven't overcome them, but a lot of times what I tend to do is build relationships with partners and stakeholders that are willing to pour into my ideas and to help me reach and achieve the goals that I have set forth, or the project that I'm advocating for. I find
Mhm.
people who are interested in the same things that I'm interested in that are willing to depart with some of their money. But money is one of the biggest things because I'm
Mhm.
not white. I won't have the Ford Foundation or have Bill Gates or have the Elton John or the Elizabeth Taylor and all of them giving me
Money.
$100,000.
Yes.
And trust me, a white CBO versus a black CBO, it's totally different.
Mhm.
It's
I
totally
agree with
different.
that. I agree with that.
There's less reports that they're gonna write versus the hoops that they're gonna make me jump through.
Now,
But it's more 50,000.
but as you mentioned that, and again, that's another thing that makes me feel proud and motivated to build this platform for that very same situation. And that is, for those situations where you got people doing those things that are less covered, not even coverage, if you want to put it to that point, you know, those are some things that I want to shine a light on, because I want people to know that, oh, because you see people trying to come and put this thing out on TV and making it look like, oh, this is what's going on in the black community, this is what black people doing, and knowing that that's a lie. But hey, you got some people though that's so entranced into listening, into looking and watching at these things, that it's like they turn a deaf ear, because it's like, if my eyes can see it, my ears can hear it, then I'm hearing this, and 9 times out of 10, I believe this is true, because the stereotypes make it that way. That's what we have to change. And
Um, the last piece you said,
mhm,
it hit when you said it. I think they want to sanitize how we watch things and consume them. I think what's comfortable for them may not be comfortable. Do I like hood TV? Yes. But what we have to ask ourselves, what happened to shows like Cosby? What happened to shows like Different World? What happened to shows like Martin? What happened to shows like Thea? What happened to shows like Girlfriends?
mhm.
We have to ask ourselves, what happened to clean black TV? Why does everything that we watch have to be drug dealing, pimping, hoeing, and etc.? I like trashy TV now. Don't get me wrong. I have the stars package.
You're right. You're right about that, but
I
because
have the
it
stars
seems like,
package. Don't get me wrong, but we have to ask ourselves, is this all that we have? Is this all that represents black people? And I definitely got to get Dr. Toy Washington on here for her to sit here and tell you her views on stuff like that. And she'll get over in a minute. I don't watch all that garbage. I can't watch that garbage. And I'm sitting there the entire time like, okay, but I'm going home and watch that tonight. Because my guilty pleasure when I'm not working is I'm a TV binge watcher.
okay.
I will spend the whole night watching TV and get to work that next day, be working. But The things you have to question the music we're consuming. And that's what frustrates me as a black advocate. That right there, that's what frustrates me. And it's a scene in Tyler Perry's family reunion where Cicely Tyson said, "And on this here land," I don't know if you remember that scene, and this is what we do. And I hear that every time I'm watching these shows and I'm seeing what they're pushing from the sexy reds, from the futures, put on some perk and a molly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm dripping green from sexy red.
Ooh.
Um,
Mm-mm.
so in the array of things, I'm not just an advocate. I'm not just a queer advocate. I'm also a sexual assault advocate. I work
Oh,
with
wow.
CSA.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm not just saying like, "Oh, I attend a meeting for sexual assault." No, this is actually what I do. So when I'm hearing things like that, so you're endorsing sexual violence against females,
Yes.
and
Yes.
the other one's over here endorsing bug catching.
Yes.
So something has to change. That's how they view us. That's the only thing that they see us for. They don't see us for singing love ballads and crooners anymore. They don't see us for telling jokes, and they don't want a doctor and a lawyer to be in a relationship anymore. That's not marketable.
Mm. Yeah. Actually, that is what was what I don't know if you call it publicized, but the way they marketed that was not good for black marketing.
Mm-mm. Well, it was good for black marketing. It's just that too many people wanted to go to Hillman College.
Mm-hmm.
You had more black people going to HBCUs when a different world was on TV
Yep.
than ever.
Yep.
And you know where the problem comes? Why I get upset about my black community and my black producers? Um, you let them take a different world off. Y'all should have bought that or recreated that. Y'all can recreate everything else.
Yep.
You let them take the soul. You let them take Soul Train from us.
Yep.
You letting them hold BET hostage from Tyler Perry. They ended up selling it to a company that they think going to break it down and bust it off. Hopefully, it ends up in a black hand.
Well, when Byron Allen wanted to buy it, they wouldn't sell it to him.
But he already scooped them on the Weather Channel. You think they're gonna let You think they're gonna let him do that? Is you crazy?
I know
Now
that's
I
right.
found that out. He on the Weather Channel,
Okay.
and then turned around and sued him for so many $100 million because they wouldn't let him start a channel for black HBCUs
Mhm.
sports. Do you know how much money how much money is on with sports and how much HBCU could make if they were able to put their teams on television? When
Exactly.
you dove into the amount of money that it plays with sporting events and how much, and I know for a lot of black people, we may not know about an LSU, or we may not know about a Texas State or a Florida State.
Mhm.
Those games make more than an NFL team.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
I've been giving a ticket. I've been giving tickets to these games, and had someone say, "I'll give you $1,000 for that ticket." You don't want to go to that.
Mhm.
$1,000, shit! I can buy me a ticket to the Saints.
Oh
So
Lord.
it, I people were mad when Deion Sanders left Jackson State and went to the other school. I understand why he did that, and I understand, but he did shed a light on what's going on with our black schools. Um, a lot of parents won't even allow their kids to go to HBCU to play sports.
Mm.
It's bigger than what we think it is.
Yeah.
The oppressor is still oppressing us.
Yes.
They
That's
act like they for
positive.
us. Yeah,
Mhm.
they act like they for us, but we're still oppressed people.
Mhm.
How does that show up? So I encourage anybody that's listening to my voice right now, say how does suppression show up in my life or in my career or in my role in my day to day doing? Where am I being suppressed, or what's stopping me from hitting the glass ceiling?
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
when you start writing a list of things down, your list gonna be about 100 things.
Oh, you ain't never lie about that. You ain't never lie about that because it's a many, and it's so many that they just start popping out.
Oh yeah.
Pop out.
Healthcare. You conduct studies, but you don't conduct studies on Black people.
Yeah.
Cosmetology. All the products and all the billions of dollars that Black people spend on cosmetology, but we don't own the companies. They get us to do blackface to sell the products, and when we don't fall in line, they fire us and hire another Black person. But these companies are owned by Asian and white people, and sometimes I've done research they're owned by people who are connected to the Ku Klux Klan.
Mm, mm-mm.
Housing.
Wow.
There are no major Black housing builders
No.
in Black Hollywood, so they say I live in.
Mm. Well, again, that too. That's another show. That's a
Okay.
whole nother show.
Yeah.
Yes. How do you prioritize your advocacy efforts within the LGBTQ community?
I try to stick to what's close to my heart. Um, Trans rights are human rights, and I'm always going to advocate for trans people, especially trans people of color, because the life to death ratio is much higher for them. When I very first decided that I wanted to walk in this lifestyle, it was trans women and trans men who embraced me, afforded and allowed me a lot of opportunities in life, and that is my debt to society to pay for them, to advocate for them. Um, food insufficient and food inequalities is my second passion. Um, and it's becoming more around housing because a lot of times here in Atlanta it's easier for me to take MARTA, and when I'm on a MARTA train, I'm seeing people on trains that are unhoused. So we want to stop using that word homeless. These people are unhoused. Um, I live on Cheshire Bridge, and I know when we talked, I told you about the bridge burning down. I know if you live in Atlanta, you know they've burned down twice. And
Yes.
my white neighbors get upset. Oh my God, they need to do something about that. And oh my God, and I turn around and say, well, yeah, what they need to do is build somewhere. You have 6.5 million people in the city, and you're constantly building these damn glass towers, and you don't have a place to house them. You don't have adequate. And again, bringing it back to Georgia, has not annexed into healthcare network, so we don't have mental health. Some of the shit with homeless, with unhoused people is mental.
Yes. Very much so.
So if you're not affording them somewhere to stay, you're not affording them somewhere to live. Where are they going to lay their head? Of course, in a city where we have all these beautiful temperatures and it's 30 degrees, they're going to burn a damn barrel under where they're sleeping at. So what? They burn the damn bridge down, burn it down again.
Hmm.
They waste millions of dollars here.
Yeah, and I think that was kind of unfortunate.
It is very unfortunate. It's very stressful when it happens. But then I have to think, wait, it's freezing cold outside. I'm in my 2 bedroom apartment, two baths, two
Hmm.
bathrooms, nice kitchen. This apartment over
Hmm.
here is 1,700 square feet. It's
Hmm.
huge.
Hmm.
He outside in the 30-degree weather.
Mm.
I got
Under
a
a bridge.
fireplace.
Hmm.
So we have to learn to use compassion. And when we're busy cutting up about them being there, being vagrant, sleeping on trains, sleeping in places, what we should be saying is, why haven't we come up with a system in a place, not just to house them overnight? Why haven't we come up with some type of housing refuge for them? And I'm not saying just take 10 storage containers to get 10 people off the street. Come up with a system. I love New York system. In New York, you really don't have to be homeless.
Mm.
They have a system that will support you and help you get back to being housed. Why
No.
haven't we adopted their model from back best practices?
Mm. It's because maybe there's a major part of this country that's more for people being homeless. That's my logic because every time somebody says they're doing something, instead of actually going out and just creating or doing the project themselves, they're always donating this money to the same advocacy group that does nothing. And all they doing is they're just taking all that money and they're keeping it for them damn selves.
Pull those 990s and see what those salaries are.
Ex-
I could give you so many topics to talk about on your show. See, the Black nonprofit, we struggle to get funding.
Right.
And we have to do it by grassroots efforts, which is fine. It costs me to feed someone a week. It costs me to feed 500 people and provide up to 75,000 pounds of food. It costs me roughly $550 a week. We'll figure it out. With or without the help of the government, we'll figure that out. And we've been figuring that out for the last 2 years at Power. So when my mayor of Atlanta gets on TV and highlights an organization that does it once a month or every 6 months because it's convenient for him, it pisses me off a little bit, just a tinge. However, those white organizations, we're supposed to take 25%, and we're all self-funded, by the way. We don't get no one that works at Power gets a salary. When those white organizations, you pull their 990s and the director makes $250,000, the bookkeeper, which may be his son, makes $100,000, the secretary and all these, and you start looking at the amount of money that their staff make, how much of this money is going to helping people?
Exactly. None.
None.
Because, I'm sorry to say this, and again, this is going to step on some feet, but that your same mayor of Atlanta, I think he should be ashamed of his damn self, because he is the same one that that gave back $10 million
and
to
housing
the federal government for that housing that he was supposed to help people with their rent, and he did not do it. And then he wants to say, I'm the best mayor. Get out of here.
Let's do like Luther Vandross said, keep it right there, keep it right there. Now Luther said, keep it right there. Let's keep it right there. You give all the money to one organization, one corrupt organization.
Okay.
You don't say, hey, I got multiple organizations. Let's come up with a checklist. We'll have one group of people that's in charge of giving out the money, but we'll have these multiple organizations submitting the application. That's our trust factor. We're going to build a checklist. This is what we need to do this. No. Y'all built that. Y'all made it so hard. Y'all fixed the system where we couldn't get on the phones. Y'all wouldn't answer the phones. Y'all wasn't properly staffed.
Right.
But y'all voted for him.
Yes.
And you voted for the other person that sits above him in the governor's office.
Exactly.
300 and what did he give him? $300 in food stamps, or was it cash?
He was the little piece of. It was a cash. It was cash.
Okay.
It was a little
and
cash.
Then to insult you, what pissed me off after that election, what really pissed me off was Power. Like I said, we didn't start Power Atlanta to do any of the shit we do. But I have old women that don't know how to work the computer that's knocking on my door. Hey, baby, what type of resource center this is? And I'm sitting there like, well, how can I help you? She said, I haven't got my food stamps in 2 months, baby. And they're talking about I got to do something online. She's 70 years old.
That's a shame.
It's not 70 years old. My mindset, been using the computer all my life. She's 70 years old, ain't never touched none.
Right.
You done locked the goddamn food stamp office up, don't have no goddamn employees. Same thing you did with the healthcare, same thing you did with the unemployment.
Right. Right.
But y'all seem to don't think it's a problem. You just talk conspiracy theories.
That's the number one. When you call out the truth, that's the number one thing that's it. Why are you starting a conspiracy theory about this? Because that's not the way that is. Explain it to me then.
Yeah.
That's what they can't do, though.
Why? Okay. Now I got a lunatic in Louisiana now, but I had a rational governor because I'm a Louisiana boy, but Georgia's my home. But my heart is always going to be in Louisiana. I'm just never going back.
Right.
Whenever John Bell, something happened in the state of Louisiana, and it was like we had we needed something. He enacted the National Guard. He said, "I'll get us enough people to do it." They serve at my discretion.
Right.
So if you didn't have enough people to run the food stamp office, or enough people to run those offices, you could have enacted the National Guard. They got clerical people in their services. Those people work real jobs.
Right.
That's how you solve problems.
Right.
I know somebody saying like, why he said the National Guard? Because that's at his discretion. That's a workforce that he can call on with roughly 200,000 people for any, not just if we have to defend something inside of Georgia and we need someone to fight for us here in Georgia. If, let's say somebody rise up against the state of Georgia, it's also therefore if we need help with building and infrastructure and etc. at his
Right.
discretion.
At his discretion. Yep.
I bet you I gave y'all a quick civics lesson when you thought about that one, huh?
Can you discuss the intersectionality between LGBTQ rights and public health?
The intersectionality between LGBT rights and public health. How do I want to frame this? It wasn't a problem. It wasn't a problem to Nancy Reagan's son. Can't say that.
Ron Reagan.
Let me strike that because they never confirmed it. Let me strike that. The intersectionality with LGBTQ rights, we wasn't saw as people. We wasn't saw worthy of saying. In the early 90s, they wouldn't even bury us they bury us in potter's fields. We wasn't treated properly. We were put on wards where you'd be in a ward and 50, 60 people with 2 nurses. My very first experience dealing with a health matter relating a queer person was in 1995, Charity Hospital. I went on to the ward and it stunk. The smell hit me instantly. They didn't even have working air up there.
Oh.
And it's funny that you're asking me about this because that's something I was writing because another report I'm working on. And if you wanted treatment in Louisiana, we had Charity Hospital had a clinic that was off campus, and everyone who went to this clinic, whether it was for the STD or HIV, this was the only place you can get service. Or if you may could go to the public health department to get medicine, but everything was done through Ryan White, and everything was done through last resorts. It wasn't a really good thing to have health, and a lot of gay people, particularly when having any type of health issue, were always scared to go to the doctor because they felt they would be mistreated. And you're going for something like a common cold. They're asking you, "Are you sleeping with men? Have you been tested for AIDS?" It was just a stigma to where gay people wouldn't go to the hospital because of the way they would be treated, especially the free hospital. But when you have that good insurance and you start going to these Piedmont hospitals and auction care, the treatment's a little bit different. So public health and queerness don't align that well. Just the way we were treated in that era was horrible. And this is less than, I'm in my 40s, and this is less than 10 years ago, less than 15 years ago, about. It didn't really start getting good for queer people in healthcare until like the mid 2000s. Some new rules came in with HIPAA, and some new rules came in with the Department of Health, INH, that changed some things, and a lot of that legislation came through Obamacare.
Yes.
And a lot of that legislation came period through Obama.
As a matter of fact, you're right. That's actually that was the first term when he got in 2008.
Yeah. Doctors could decline to help you because you were gay. They didn't want to treat you.
Right.
So you got AIDS. I don't want anyone with AIDS. I don't want to treat them.
What initiatives have you been involved in to promote LGBTQ health and well-being?
The sweet spot, as I told you about earlier, healing through the highways. Healing through the highways is through TWOC Healing Project, which is ran by Toy Washington. That initiative is where we go into rural areas where people who may be at risk or living with HIV or also maybe sexual assault victims, and we provide services for them. That service can be so much as transportation to and from medical appointments. That could be also mean temporary housing. That could also mean providing holistic approaches, not so much as non-case medical management. Our organization also provides psychosocial sound therapy. We provide acupuncture. We also provide art therapy, facials, manicure, and that's for trans and TGNC of individuals. Um, what else have I done? I've also been a part of State of Trans. That's where we discussed everything from mental health, surrounding with housing, jobs. That's a big issue in the trans community, getting jobs. Even working so much with the mayor's office on decriminalizing sexual assault. Not sexual assault, because in Atlanta, back in 1995, 1996, 1997, if you were unfortunately a sex worker, they can ban you from the city of Atlanta. And
What?
and that person's HIV positive, how are you gonna get to Atlanta? I can't come to Atlanta, so that means I can't come for my medical appointments. So working with Toy Washington and Snapco, that was one of the things we spoke out against, and that rule been taken off the book.
Oh, okay, because I don't know if you remember this or not, but actually, it was last month. I actually had one of the guests, a guest on my show that actually spoke about the criminalization of
Um,
HIV.
yeah, yeah.
That's the criminalization.
Hmm.
And I know George was one of those states originally. I didn't know if they had taken that off the books, but I know
No,
Georgia was one of the states that
it's
was
still on.
really enforcing that.
That law is still on the books. So in Georgia right now, if you have sex with someone, and let's say you're undetectable and you're HIV positive, and you don't tell them, and it comes out, unfortunately, you can receive anywhere from 5 years to 25 or more,
Oh,
or it
good.
can be considered as attempt murder. Um, these laws are a little old and archaic, and it's a touchy situation. And here's the thing: I notice more brown and black people are being charged with these crimes. This I don't understand the balance of, because just as many black people get HIV, guess what? Just as many white people and Latin people
More,
get well.
more.
But I noticed, here's what happened, and I had to talk to someone recently about this, and because he said, "Are you advocating?" And because he said, like I said, he said that's touchy. He said, because I feel like you shouldn't be having sex. I said, here's where I have a problem at. There was a guy in Kentucky provided proof that he had it in his dating profiles and that he had told guys that he was HIV positive.
Hmm.
Um, well, they decided that they wanted to still move forward with the prosecution. So when they moved forward with the prosecution, the victim who put the original charges against him, because he was how did he say, he was heartbroken that the individual didn't want him anymore. um this particular person took and filed these charges erroneously, and guess what, because he was a black man
Hmm.
who could not afford this, guess what,
He got locked up.
he got locked up and he's doing 30 years now.
Yeah, and that's exactly what the guest was saying, is that people come up with these lies. I mean, they come up with these lies, and if you so happen to be in one of those states, you're in trouble.
Yeah, so this was in Kentucky, and that's very touching, and there's lots of instances. There was a guy in Louisiana. um I actually helped in his case. He basically said that he told the guy he was HIV positive. The guy and him broke up. After 2 years, the guy went down and pressed charges and filed some false reports on him. And to get it over with, to save the family from embarrassment, he pled guilty to it. So now he has to register as a sex offender.
Oh my God, that is so horrible.
And again, the numbers are not equal when it comes
Yeah,
to white and black.
yeah, and see, that's just the thing, though. When we talk about this justice system itself, it is not just, especially for people that look like you and I.
No.
So it's amazing that we have to have billions of dollars in order to fight some, excuse me for saying this, but to fight some shit that you're going to have to continuously go back to court over and over and over again, because they know they're not going to win the case if you've got representation. Therefore, if you got representation, then we're just going to break you. That's what
Hmm.
that is. and they're allowed to do this over and over again until they get tired.
Well, sometimes even having representation is not good. It's not good enough. There was an incident not even related to what we're talking about in Texas, where a guy hired a lawyer and hired a pretty good lawyer, but they just spun it on and on and on and on and on. And this guy's whole life and career is teetering in the balance.
Exactly. Exactly. Until he has no money.
Yeah. Now, thank God that the lawyer took this as a passion project, and the lawyer didn't be like, "Oh, okay, I'm done with it." But just think about that.
Hmm. How do you engage with policymakers to advocate for LGBTQ rights?
You'll be surprised at how many people who work in government who make decisions don't think that this is still a discussion we need to have. So I bring them facts, and I
Mhm.
pretty much meet with them for lunch or dinner or at various events that I attend, and ask them, can I have some time on their calendar? And some of them say yeah, some of them receptive. You'll know who actually want to be a student and who don't want to be a student. You
Mhm.
know when you're in the room who's for you and who's not. I damn sure won't be going up to Marjorie Taylor Greene trying to get her to advocate for rights.
Okay.
So, uh,
No, look, especially if you got a bad built butch body like that, I'm sure you're not asking her for anything.
yeah, no, I won't be going up to Marjorie, but it's a dance. It's a finesse.
Mhm.
I like to find people who are new in politics, even people who are new in corporate America. My best friend works for Gilead Science. He's one of my newest best friends, and I like him because he educates me. He's my teacher, and he can break that conversation down around things related to HIV and stigma, like this. He can take it and bring it all the way down to where I can understand it. I didn't go to school for prevention.
Mhm.
Um, and I homed in on him, one because he was new, two because he was passionate about what he was doing, and we're joined at the hip. So what I like to do is find people who are new in politics, and that way you can influence and you can also educate and you can get them to advocate for some of the policies and changes that you need to make. I have a theory that I often tell people: vote for the dog catcher. Don't just
Mm.
vote for Joe Biden, because there's more on that ballot than Joe Biden. You have some people who are running for councilman in Atlanta. In Atlanta, we have councilman and we have what's the other one? Not aldermen. They have more than one. It's the city councilman. What's the other branch of government that they use here in Georgia?
Besides city council, it's the that's the that's state senate, state
Yeah,
representative.
you have a couple of different things going on. So we need to familiarize the people who are running for these various offices and their various titles and what they do. The DA. A lot of people are upset with Fannie Rulers um, for doing our job. Hey, for doing our job. Part of being a DA is sometimes you're gonna have to lock up black people. We have bad black people out here in America.
Hmm.
Um, some people don't like the tactics she used. Um, so if you don't like the tactics and the things that Fannie Willis do, guess what you have to do? You have to see what other candidates who are running against her and see how they measure up for you. I always tell people when picking a candidate, because I can't tell you who to vote for, what you need to do is line up his views and what he's for and say, how does he fit into my picture? Or how can I sway him to get more towards what my causes are? And
Hmm.
how can I help him navigate through these roads by being a voice, or bring me into rooms with him so that I can talk and get my point over to the other side?
Hmm.
Because just screaming it from the outside of the courthouse or the Capitol is not going to get it. You will
Not one
need some
bit.
people. You'll need some people on your side. Um, One of the key things I told people why Stacey didn't win was Stacey didn't penetrate those rural areas. And whenever I would talk to black voters in the rural areas, they said they felt like their voices wasn't being heard. They
Hmm.
felt like she didn't spend enough time coming to them directly. They felt like she was more focused on the big city areas of Georgia and not the small rural country towns. So whenever you have a marginalized voice that feel like it's being snuffed out, Guess what
That's what
happened?
happens. In what ways do you utilize social media to amplify your message and reach a wider audience?
Oddly or not, I don't use it as much as I should. I have a very big voice on social media, but I need to start using it more. But I use it to educate people about events that I have coming up and things I'm doing. If you ever want to know what I'm doing or what cause that I'm fighting for currently, just look on my social media pages. Whether it's Powered by Dash at Instagram, Powered by Dash at Facebook, was Dash Daggs at Facebook. Um, I tend to post on Facebook and Instagram anything that I'm working on, any projects that I'm involved or anything that I may be attending. Um, I'm in the middle with social media. It takes a lot of time that I'm not willing to dedicate. I have friends that spend 4 hours a week creating content for social media. I have to ask them in the beginning of the show. I told you what I like doing and what I have to do. So that means I have to figure out how would I fit that into my schedule and make that a part of what I want to do. So running a food pantry, working for TWOC, also being a part of NMAC, a national organization, Gay Men of Color,
Mhm.
um, and it's a couple of other things that I probably left out, and having my own pet projects. Where does social media fit for me other than putting a flyer on there or
Well,
other than doing a short video?
you see, that's just the thing because I can say I'm not good at it, and
But you've mastered it.
yeah, but the time that I have, it's like I do have some time that I dedicate to that. But
Mhm.
I've actually, just like yourself, I got to have somebody else to actually do that because that takes up too much time.
Yes.
That takes too much time.
I, my Adrian told me recently. She said, "Oh, you know how to use CapCut?" I said, "I play with it, but this is not what I do." And she laughed because she'll call me and say, "You know how to do this? Come on, do this," and I'll be like, "We need to pay somebody to do that." And she's like, "Oh, you know
Right.
about computers and stuff like this." Maybe if I had the budget and I can bring someone on staff and say, hey, your job is just to do my social media and follow me around at all these events and all these things. And I know people that do that.
Yes,
Um, that's totally different. That's a whole job now.
that is a whole job.
Yeah, that's a whole job.
Yes, it is. Um, what advice would you give to us in aspiring activists in the LGBTQ community?
Pick one cause, champion that one cause, find an organization that your vision and their vision align, because that's very important. Just because they said they're a gay-led organization or a queer organization or a black ran organization don't mean that all our principles and our visions are going to align. I know so many people who come into this, and some people want to come in to be a rock star, some people, and that's fine. That's not my ministry. But that may be your ministry, and I'm not going to be a hater and say don't be a rock star. I can tell you 5 rock stars that's in the philanthropy space or the nonprofit space. But
Mhm.
if you're gonna do it, align yourself with someone that has the same vision as you, because the worst thing can happen. You fighting for prison justice, an organization you align yourself with don't care about prison justice, or you're fighting for trans rights and they're anti-trans, because we have a lot of queer organizations out here. Yes, guess what? They're only concerned about MSN and white MSN.
Yep.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
prejudice in the HIV space. Yes.
Mm. You know, when I think about, as you say that, there are people that still believe to this day that, which I find to be strange because you're trying to take away somebody's rights,
Hmm.
but they are really strong about this trans situation. And I'm finding that to be a little bit disturbing for a couple of reasons.
Hmm.
One is, how are you going to tell somebody who or what they can be? And two, how do you determine if they're able to get medical care or not? Where does that come from?
So it's It's funny you said that, and I had a woman. Well, um, I wouldn't. I don't think they need to do it when they're kids. They maybe should wait till they're 25 years old. I said, well, I said, did you know the same legislation that they're trying to pass to stop trans people from receiving treatment is the same legislation that they're trying to stop women from being able to take birth control?
See, see.
So trans rights are human rights.
Mm-hmm.
So just to give you, we already got a demigod running for president.
Yep.
He can come in and say, you know what, we're gonna you want to end the HIV in America, we're gonna stop providing them these life-saving drugs, and we're gonna ban them in the United States,
Mm.
and they'll just die out eventually.
Yep.
Now in my head, I know that that's not how that's gonna go.
But it's the thought.
It's a thought, and I hate when I don't know exactly there's a report where some radical group have put a report together. It's a doozy, to where they're trying to overthrow certain parts of the government and pretty much turn us into an authoritarian nation.
Oh, that's the 2025 report.
Yes, yes,
That's the conservative
and some of
report.
that, and some of what,
I have that whole report.
and some of that stuff that I just talked about is in there.
Yeah, it is.
And you have to realize, I may not champion what you believe in, but I believe in fair and equal rights and protection. So let me
Right.
tell you a little bit about me and myself. When I was born, my mom was 18 years old, and
Mhm,
she was an 18-year-old woman in New Orleans. She was partying, having a good time.
mhm,
If it wasn't for Louise Sylvester, Eloise Lucas, Janice Gibbons, and etc., I
mhm,
wouldn't have had a parent to raise me. So guess what? I
mhm,
don't believe in abortion, because as for in the black community, you can do what you want to do. We'll raise him and we'll
mhm,
rear him. And if you feel like you want to come back and be mother at some point down the line,
mhm,
your son will be right here and be safe.
mhm.
However, I believe a woman have the right to choose.
Yes, she
It's not
does.
up to me and my beliefs.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's not for
Exactly.
me.
Right.
And when you tell, and what I'm baffled with the woman's right to choose piece is, you say, oh, we're gonna, we want women to have kids. Well, really, what you didn't want to say is that we're becoming a minority, and the Spanish people and the black people are becoming a majority. And to
Mhm,
save our numbers, because our white people are having more abortions
mhm.
than black people, because black people typically don't want to pay money. We'll have our kids,
You're right.
and we know the Spanish people as well.
You're
The
right.
Latinx culture will have theirs as well. They're proving it. So, oh,
Right.
we got to do something about this, Alabama. We got to do something about this, Louisiana.
Mhm.
We
Don't
can't be
forget to leave
outnumbered.
Georgia and Florida out.
Yeah, we got to do something about this.
Mhm,
So, those are thoughts. And black people, well, you shouldn't be for abortion. No, um, let them work that out. They have to bear that cross.
yes, they do. How do you ensure inclusivity and representation in your media productions?
Making sure that I have people who actually reflect the audience that I'm advertising, I'm creating it for. Meaningfully placing people of trans, queer, and black in my productions, and actually using authentic people and telling authentic stories.
Mhm. Oh, wow. See, I like that.
Yeah.
Um, could you share a project or a campaign that you're particularly proud of?
Um. Right now, I'm happy about Power and our initiative to test more people and to bring the numbers down in the West End Atlanta.
Mhm,
I'm really happy about that. And why I'm happy about that is, I believe that 5 years of us doing what we're doing in Atlanta's West End, that we're going to change the tide.
mhm,
And we're going to become a test study for other organizations and other people who want to combat the stigma that's in the black community in urban areas. Also, letting people know that this is not a gay thing. that this
Mhm.
is a people's thing, and
Mhm.
also providing education and literacy about, hey, I'm not even here to tell you put a condom on, but what I'm telling you is these are some life saving drugs that can help you pre and post.
Mhm.
You can get it pre. Some people, well, I don't want to take no AIDS medicine. You can take a shot every 2 months, and then once it get into your system, you can go to every 3 months, or
Mhm.
you can take a pill daily.
Mhm.
And if you just like the morning after pill, if you decide you want to have unprotected sex, I'm not advocating for that. Hey, this pill here, if you take this after sex, for the next 2 days, you won't have any STDs or any infections that can cause just as much as harm as having HIV. So AIDS is something that you can live with. The average person is living 30 and 40 years with AIDS. It's the other complications. But a lot of people don't talk about that syphilis can make you go blind.
Ooh.
A lot of people don't talk about that chlamydia and gonorrhea will raise your heart rate so high you'll have a heart attack or
Mhm.
rotting out your livers.
Mhm.
Um, let's as Luther say, let's keep it right there. I have had conversations with black men who have who've known that they've been having some issues in those departments who haven't been treated just out of fear of what we'll be thinking about if they go in to get treated.
Mhm.
I've known people to wake up with stage 5 syphilis and be blind, start
Oh
having
my God.
schizophrenic moments.
Yeah.
I've had friends go into comas, and all that's off of stigma, just not wanting to. Now, I as a profession and a person who works in this field, I know how to get certain drugs and how to do things without having to go through the whole song and dance, but they don't know.
Mhm.
Um, you can go to urgent care. You don't have to go to downtown. What is that? Ponce de Leon to the health department.
Right.
You don't have to. You don't even have to go into my favorite hospital, Piedmont. You don't have to go down to Grady. Any
Mhm.
urgent care doctor can test you for an STD and write you a prescription to treat such STDs. You don't
Mhm.
have to live with it. And you have a lot of people, and there's a form of syphilis around here that's going around in America now that's going to be a little bit stronger than AIDS.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
a lot of a lot of people living with herpes going untreated.
Oh. Oh,
Yeah,
on out. How
and
could they do
that's
that with the outbreaks? I mean, they can't possibly live with that, can they?
yes, they can because the outbreaks come and go. Um, in the
Oh.
black community, we're too scared not, and this is not a gay thing. That's why I incorporate other straight men and women to have these discussions in community. This is not just a gay thing because the way the church and the media made all this is gay with the
Mhm.
monkeypox. It's affecting the gay people. Look, everybody, gay ain't gay like when I look. Gay ain't gay like when I came around the business. Well, that gay is gone. This the new gays I'm meeting are sleeping with women, and these
Oh.
women know that these boys are gay. They're
Oh. Oh
seeking
my
them.
God.
So
Yeah.
what I'm saying is, as Luther said, keep it right there.
Mhm.
We have to start having positive discussions about sex.
Yes.
We have to start talking about we love having sex, so why demonize it and criminalize it? Why strive up? I my some of my close friends they squirm when we have those little discussions. "Oh, what he likes to talk about it. No, I'm very sexually fluent. Yeah, very sexually fluent.
Mhm.
Having those discussions, being sexually fluent, has allowed people to call me and say, "Hey, I'm having a problem in this department. What should I do?" Oh, I have the perfect person for you. Call her. She's very discreet.
Mhm. Wow. Well, let me just tell you that I'm very appreciative for you actually dropping these nuggets with us, but I definitely would love to have you back on the show if you would come back.
I definitely would do it again, friend. I enjoyed it. I hated that today was a long day and I threw your scheduling off. And the next time I'm going to make it my point to push it to my people as much as possible. But I will send them whatever you send me for the post.
Mhm.
Um, And between now and then, I'll know how to get into my Instagram live. 'Cause I try.
That's
I'm
okay.
sitting up there.
Just remember though, for your show tonight, the actual link that I sent you when I had to update the link and so forth, you can use that link as long as you want to. You can post it on your platform and just let it play.
I will definitely do that in the morning. Let people know. I know that I connected it through my Facebook, so I'm assuming my Facebook Live people, who I hardly ever talk to, uh, will have will have a lot of comments to talk about tomorrow. Thank you for
Definitely. Oh yes, most definitely. And I want to also say I'm appreciative for everyone that's out here watching the show tonight, especially those that are watching on the YouTube channel. If you would please subscribe and hit the notifications button for me, I would really appreciate it. We will see you guys next week, and thank you again, Mr. Dash, for allowing us to have some of your time to educate us on an enormous amount of things that we need to know about. And we'll see you next time.
See you next.